Good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 11th of February, 2025. Well done for making it this far. I'm Graham Hughes. You are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. Big shout out to Scott in the chat there. We've also got Sarah Davis, we've got Leonova's Embroidery Journey, Pete's Music, Alan Jackson, Dark 4x4, Tripod 9000, amongst others. If you would like to join them in the chat, all you need to do, hit that subscribe button, wait for about a minute for your accreditations to go through, and you can join the chat. If you behave like a barbarian, though, we will kick you off. You'll be able to watch, but not be able to say anything. So don't do that. Don't be a troll. Right, so today we're going to be talking about Trump's tariffs. There's a lot of things we can talk about. We can actually talk about Trump's latest intervention into Gaza, in which he said that he wants all the hostages freed by Sunday, or he's going to let Israel basically nuke the place. Nice. No protests, though, funnily enough. Just a bit weird that there were massive protests against Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. There's big protests against them, but Trump decided to just kill everyone and crickets. But that aside, we're going to be talking about tariffs today, okay? We're going to talk about tariffs because this is the thing, right? This is the statement I'm going to make at the top of the show, and you're free to disagree with me in any way, shape, or form you please, but I believe that tariffs hurt the working class the most, okay? That means higher prices on everyday goods. Tariffs acts as a tax on imports, which are paid for by the importer, not by the country that's exporting into your country. No, the company that is importing pay the tariff, and they generally pass that on to the customer, raising the cost of items on things like cars, clothing, food, electronics, etc. Stuff that people need to stay alive a lot of the time. In the Trump's tariffs in 2018, 2019 on China led to an average cost increase to the average American family of $800 to $1,200 a year. And that's a lot of money when you're on minimum income. That is a lot of that's a lot of money. That's a lot of avocado sandwiches or whatever it is that the rich claim that everyone else seems to eat, and that's why we can't afford houses. Nothing to do with the fact that, the price of a telly used to be, let's say, £1,000, and the price of a house used to be about £10,000. So for 10 tellies, you could get a house. Houses are now like $500,000, and tellies are 250 quid for a really big one. Yeah, how many tellies do you need for a house now, Granny? Yeah? Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference? Like the things that used to be luxuries in the past aren't luxuries anymore. And the things that used to be, bare necessities like food, housing, they're luxuries now. Yeah, medication. So basically, what poor and working class individuals spend a larger proportion of their income on goods rather than services. Services which are rarely affected by tariffs. Have a look at Brexit. Where has Brexit really affected us? It's affected us in the things that we buy, the commodities that we buy, not services. In fact, the service industry's done rather well out of Brexit. Now, who makes money out of services? The already rich, because it's basically moving money around. How do you move money around? Well, you've got to have money to make money, don't you? So they're making an absolute shit ton of money out of Brexit, while the rest of us are having to pay twice as much for a pint of beer. A pint of beer now costs twice as much as it did before we chose to leave the EU. I'd say I didn't choose to leave the EU, but 27% of the population thought this would be a great idea. Anyway, tariffs cause these regressive economic impacts which affect the poor more than the rich, which is why Trump is going for them. Trump loves the idea of, because he's a fucking sadist, he likes the idea of attacking the poor. It's not enough for Elon Musk and Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, all these little Nepo babies, all these little PSM hires. It's not enough for them to be rich. They need other people to suffer, and they need to be able to see that suffering and enjoy it. That's why the Tories never did anything about homeless people until COVID made it so they had to. And then suddenly there were no more homeless people. All the homeless people in the country had homes for a few months. And then the Tory government went, no, you see, because when I walk to the bank, I want to have to step over a few homeless people to make me feel good about myself. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that makes me feel bad about myself when I walk past homeless people. I think, oh my God, I wish I could do more to help. But they don't, you see. You've got to understand how the brains are wired in these posh, privileged pricks who run the world. They are sadists. They are masochists. Not masochists. They want to create a world in which everyone is as miserable as they are, because there's no one on this planet as miserable as the rich. I've met so many people on my travels around the world who had fuck all, but they were happy. And I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that money doesn't bring happiness, whatever, but the most miserable motherfuckers I have ever met in my life have also been the richest. I don't think that's a coincidence. And so these people who can only be happy in their own imaginations by making other people unhappy get to a point where that it just doesn't work. And look, tariffs don't save jobs, which is what Trump is claiming. They actually kill them. Higher production costs for manufacturers. Companies rely on imported materials like steel and aluminium, which have now got a 25% import duty on them off Trump, a tariff of 25% from steel and aluminium coming in from anywhere. Where it's going to affect us is the steel plant that we have in Port Talbot, which could end up this could be the death strike for it. Do you know what I mean? This could be it for that industry in Port Talbot. Trump will have done that. And any working class people who go, oh yeah, Trump, he's got our interests at heart, we'll just have to point to Port Talbot and we're no, he hasn't. But then again, I mean, we pointed towards Toyota closing down a factory of making Toyotas in this country as a thing that Brexit made happen, and people went, oh well, never mind. Was that in Swindon? Or was it Honda? Was it Honda in Swindon that closed down? But yeah, so the steel tariffs that Trump brought in 2018, they hurt US manufacturers like Harley Davidson, they make the motorbikes, which moved some production overseas to cut costs. So it actually cost US jobs, not just jobs here in the UK and around the world, but also in the US. And this also, what do tariffs always lead to? Retaliatory tariffs. Of course they do. I mean, countries hit by tariffs tend to impose their own tariffs. It's just one of those things that happens, and that reduces the demand for US exports. People look elsewhere for their food. They see a Starbucks on the street. They say, "Sod that! I'm quiet quitting America," and they go to the greasy spoon instead. And that's some money that Starbucks doesn't get, or whatever American company manufacturers. People are going to buy Reebok. People are going to buy Puma or Adidas instead of buying Nike from America. Why would you buy Nike? I'm not going to buy a pair of Levi's. I normally wear Levi's. I'm not going to buy a pair of Levi's while Trump is in office. Fuck them. They can feel the pain, because this is what they're going to do to us. We're going to strike back, because that's what people do. Someone hits you, your natural reaction is to hit them back. Probably shouldn't be. We should be better people than that, but it's just the reality, isn't it? And then we've got the historical failure. I mean, Trump's a historic failure even before he started. I mean, his first term ended with 500,000 Americans dying of COVID unnecessarily. His first term ended with the economy in the absolute doldrums. Job numbers have gone off a cliff, and companies have been shuttered down all over the United States, and the cost of living had gone up massively for nearly everybody. But everyone forgets that, because that was 4 years ago, and people need constant reminders of these things. It's just something that Fox News and their other affiliates of the Republican Party aren't going to point out to people anytime soon, are they? So the Smoot-Hawley tariff of 1930, I think it was. This is something that anyone who's watched the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off too many times will recognise. This was imposed to protect US farmers and industries during the Great Depression, because obviously in 1929 you had the you had the economy go off a cliff in America. You had the Wall Street crash in 1929, and this was a response to it. The result of which, to protect US farmers, the result of which is global trade collapsed, and it worsened the depression, not just in America, but worldwide, giving rise to the Nazi Party in Germany. Nice one. In 2002, George Bush brought in steel tariffs into America, a 30% tariff on steel to protect US steelmakers. The result was 200,000 job losses in steel using industries due to higher costs. The tariff was repealed less than a year later, after 200,000 people had lost their jobs. People working for companies like Harley Davidson and for automobile industry people, car assembly people lost their jobs. 200,000. 200,000 people. And then there's the Trump tariffs in 2018, 2019. No, this was a 25% tariff on steel and 10% on aluminium. It's 25% on aluminium this time round. And this resulted in job losses in downstream industries, increased costs for customers, as I've mentioned, and minimum growth in steel production. Like, the steel production just really didn't grow much at all. What are Trump's real motives here? It's because it's not to protect US jobs. It's not to protect US citizens or to make America like more prosperous. It just isn't. It's to make him more prosperous, maybe. But political theatre. The tariffs allow Trump to appear tough on trade and tough on China, appealing to his base regardless of the economic hardships. Because if anything bad happens to him, just like with Brexit, people will say, it's not Brexit's fault. It's the trans people's fault. Oh, it's not Brexit's fault. It wasn't implemented properly. This is what Trump supporters will say next year. They'll say, it wasn't the tariffs that cost me my job. It was the fact that they were implemented badly by the woke blob trans estate fourth protocol inventors of gene therapy, microchips, 5G, man on the moon bullshit. Whatever they're told is the reason, they'll believe it, because people out there are fucking lazy. They can't be arsed thinking for themselves. That's how lazy they are. I'm quite an active chap. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you've noticed, but I am quite a doer. I like to do things. I can't remember the last time I was bored, because I've always had something to freaking do, and I find that boring. People who are boring are generally not bored very often. But imagine being so bored. Imagine being so lazy. Imagine being so feckless that you allow someone else to do your thinking for you. You don't just watch this show and go, yeah, Graham's got some good points, but I don't agree with him on that, or you read the comments and you sort of, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. Oh no, I'm not sure about that. No. You take everything at face value, and if it's someone that you like saying something, you have to agree with 100% of what it is they say, even if what they say is absolutely monstrous. That is the laziest that any human being could be. I mean, that's a waste of your time on this planet, to be honest with you. What's the point? What is the point of being here if you're just gonna parrot somebody else's lines, and then not bother using your brain? And because you gotta understand, your brain is the most complex thing that we know of in the universe. Your brain is way more complex than the physics of the universe. Way more complex. They're pretty simple in comparison to the inner workings of your brain, with over 1 trillion bloody connections going on. Memories, thoughts, feelings, everything in your head. That is just the most remarkable thing that we know of in the entire universe. And you spend half your time going, yeah, I agree with Nigel Farage. Yeah, he speaks to me. He speaks to the common man. Even though he's a privately educated wanker who worked in the city. But he wouldn't shit on the, he wouldn't piss on the poor if they were on fire. Paul Ewan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Woo! First super chat of the morning. Yes. Kudos to Paul for the super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Trump talks about subsidizing Canada to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars a year. On that basis, ICE subsidize Asda to the tune of thousands a year. I know. He did. If you wanted to be generous, you could say that he doesn't understand what tariffs are. He doesn't understand what he's saying, but I think he does. I think he knows that his flock, his sheep, his people that follow him, You know, the 77.3 million people who thought that he was going to make life better for them in America. I think that's what they believe. You know, he has to make it really simple because these are the people who can't be asked thinking for themselves. They can't be asked using the miracle that is their brain. No, I think it's a scientific miracle. Maybe they should start thinking if they're religious. Maybe they can think of it as a miracle from God. And they're wasting it. They're wasting that miraculous thing given to them by the inventor of the universe. They're wasting it by just not using it, letting someone else use it for them. Yeah, it's a bit dispiriting, isn't it? But yeah, don't call people stupid. Call them lazy, because that's the reality. You meet some rather clever people. You meet some people who've got university degrees, who've got PhDs and stuff, who think Trump is great. I mean, not many of them, but there are some. I saw an interview today on the BBC, or it was a transcription of an interview, and it was like they had a woman who was an economics expert from a university, and they had another guy who was economics emeritus or something. That means retired. Am I right? Is that the way you say it? Am I right? Anyway, the retired economics person for a think tank. And the think tank guy was obviously pro-Trump, pro-tariffs. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, I know it's never worked in the past, but it'll work this time. Like Brexit's never worked in the past, but it'll work this time. Communism's never worked in the past, but it'll work this time. Fascism has never, ever worked in the past, but it'll work this time. No, it won't. It lasts for 10 fucking years. Millions of people will die unnecessarily, screaming in pain. Hey! And then we'll go back to democracy like we always do, because democracy is the best of all possible systems. I mean, it's a shit system, but it's the best of all possible systems for humans. Because we're squishy and silly and dysfunctional. And so is democracy. And that's the way we like it, because it reflects who we are as human beings. Also, what Trump is going to be doing with this tariffs, he's going to be distracting he's going to be distracting from serious economic issues that America's facing right now. I mean, he should be tackling corporate price gouging or improving wages. He just doesn't have to do that. He just points at foreign countries and says, they're the problem. They're the reason why your life is so miserable. And he's targeting US allies. He's targeting Canada, Mexico, Britain, the EU, despite being long-standing trading partners. And when you see British people like that knobhead Badenoch, who's in charge of the Tory party at the moment, going, "Oh, I love Trump. Trump's great. He says what he thinks. Hey, America first, America first." And it's like, yeah, you do know that America first means Britain last, dickhead. You do know that, don't you, Liz Truss? Do you know that? Do you understand, Nigel Farage? Yeah, do you understand that it means Britain last? Is that what you want? Okay, cool. Go to America, go and stand outside the building where the inauguration's taking place, because you're not allowed in, because you're not that important. And, enjoy wearing your stupid fucking MAGA hat. Make America great again at the cost of Britain. And there's people in this country who are so, depraved in their imagination that they think that America being great again will somehow improve the lot of our lives here in the UK. I've got news for them. It won't. It'll demonstrably fuck things for us in the UK, as we keep seeing. Dave W says, grating on my nerves, that is. I'm very sorry. I hope that's not the sound of my mic or my visuals. I don't know. Well, whatever it is that's grating on your nerves, I apologise profusely. The fact that, the UK, Canada, and Mexico are all considering retaliatory tariffs, which could damage the economies further on both sides. I mean, China's response so far has been quite moderate, and that might be because they want to keep the powder dry. They want, before they bring out the big guns, to really do things that will actually affect America. Just see how far Trump will go. Obviously, you don't want to go for the full tariff war straight away, but it's the way we're going. That's the way we're heading. We're on that path at the moment. And the thing with tariffs as well is they're a terrible, terrible long-term strategy. They're absolutely dismal. Look, one of the things that we should all understand is that actually things have improved so much for people around the world, just immeasurably, just in the last sort of 20 years, since the rise of the internet, smartphones, all that kind of stuff, and cheap goods from China, allowing people to have some kind of level of, a living wage, if you like, a wage that allows them to buy the things that they need to just keep their head above water. And I know that a lot of people in the middle class have been dragged down by this system in the last 20 years, and that's where Nigel Farage and Donald Trump step in to say, oh, it's all trans people. It was the trans people who caused that to happen. But people living in extreme poverty have actually been lifted. So, for example, in the last 20 years, 20 years ago, there were 2 billion people living in absolute poverty. Now there's 800 million. So that's gone down by over a half, of people who are living in absolute poverty around the world. And that's really remarkable. Medical outcomes have got better for people all over the world, except in America, where for some reason they pay 20% for their medicine rather than 3 or 4% like we pay in other countries for, a universal health care system. But their system's better because our system's communism, apparently. But yeah, most countries, healthcare's improved, sanitation's improved, infrastructure has improved, literacy has improved, child mortality is down, infant mortality and longevity is up in most countries, not in America, where it's actually going down, but that's another story. And you see this all around the world, and this has happened because of globalization. This has happened because, you know what? It makes more sense to make some things in other countries. It just does. For example, if you mine the ore out of the ground in a certain country, it makes sense to actually make the product in that country. And this is something that we should be encouraging. And the EU used to get grief from Brexiters going, oh, you can't, what would you do in EU? Bloody, let's not letting the people of Ghana make their own chocolate bars. And I thought, yeah, actually, that's quite a good point. One of the few good points that Brexiters ever made was the fact that, we had tariffs on finished chocolate products, but not on raw cacao. So we just imported the raw cacao and we made the products ourselves because we wanted to protect the Belgian and the Swiss chocolatiers. Well, maybe not the Swiss chocolatiers because they're not part of the EU, but let's say the Belgian chocolatiers. And yeah, so I mean, I could see why, people who wanted Brexit were like, yeah, we're all for free trade. We want things to improve for people around the world, and it makes sense if you dig the oil out of the ground in this place. It makes sense to refine it in that place because then it's less stuff that has to travel to different places around the world. To be distilled somewhere else. To be a fractal distillation, is it? Whatever the process is of separating crude or bunker oil into different types of stuff, paraffin and petroleum and tar, whatever else you need to make, plastics. But yeah, but then the same people who were all like, yeah, free trade, or America, they were complained about the EU being a protectionist cult. That's what they said at the time. And now those same people are cheering Trump and his tariffs. Tariff Don. Just fucking what? Have you even heard yourself? Oh, we've got to leave the EU. Why? Oh, they're too protectionist. Okay. And we need free trade deals with all these countries around the world. Those countries around the world have got fuck all to buy off us. They haven't got much money comparatively compared with the EU. I mean, you got America and Canada and New Zealand, I suppose. It's only 4.7 million people. But, you got Australia. It's only 28 million people. But, yeah, okay, cool. We've got those countries, I guess. Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Israel. Whoa, there's all 8 of them. There's all the 8 countries that we could conceivably trade with that aren't in Europe that would buy lots of things from us. Yeah. So Brexit turned out so badly, but it is weird that the same drive that had people going, oh, I don't like the EU, it's protectionist, I want to get out of the EU and have free trade around the world. And now the people who are like, let's go WTO, on the very basic, trade tariffs, which were actually really fucking high. I don't think they understood what was going on, to be honest with you, but there you go. But then, they go from that to supporting Trump and his tariffs. I really don't think they know, and why? Why don't they know? Why don't they know what's going on? Because they can't be asked thinking for themselves. They're too fucking lazy. That's why. Anyway, tariffs are a terrible long-term tariff strategy. The US trade deficit actually increased under Trump during his first round of tariffs in 2018 and 2019. His whole thing is like, oh, there's a trade deficit because Canada doesn't buy as much stuff off us as we buy off that. What? What are you talking about? What? You know, the population of Canada is only 40 million. And the population of America's, what, 333, 4 million? I mean, it's like, yeah, of course you're going to buy more stuff. There's more of you. I mean, just what? Anyway, they encourage, and another thing about tariffs, this idea that you know, you're gonna have loads more jobs, it never happens because it just encourages automation. Automation. That's what it encourages. Automation every time. Like the US go, oh shit, we need to make these things ourselves now, but we can't afford to pay people. Well, we can afford to pay people, but we don't want to. So we'll get machines to do it instead. And with the rise of AI, it's going to make it easier than ever. And they damage the relationships with allies, Europe, Japan, Canada, Mexico, the EU. You know, with the example of Japan and the EU and China, Canada, they're looking now on trade deals with China to replace the deals they've got with the US, or the stuff that they sold to the US in the past. You know, which reduces American influence. And when America wants to do something, it says, oh, I'm going to stop this thing that I sell to you from being sold to you. Yeah, going to sanction you. You go, well, go somewhere else. And, you know, it's just posturing, isn't it? Tariffs are economic poison. You don't understand that. I know Trump doesn't. I know the people who voted for Trump don't. But you're smart enough to get this, you know, in your head, right? They're economic poison. They just are. This is more about political posturing than economic strategy. History proves that tariffs fail to save jobs and actually actively harm consumers, mostly for people who are in the lower price bracket. People, that's a very bad way of putting it, Graham. Lower income bracket. That's, you know, the people don't like being called poor. They don't. That's they don't like being called lazy either. That's why I call them lazy, because they don't like it. But you know, no one regards themselves as poor. They all just regard themselves as temporarily embarrassed millionaires or something. Look, if the goal is to strengthen domestic industry, investing in worker training and infrastructure and supply chain resilience would be just a lot more effective. You know, invest in workers, subsidize American industry. That's how you better yourself over there. You don't do it through tariffs. You do not strengthen domestic industry through tariffs. But what you do is you make what you do is you make life more miserable for the poorest people in your country, which is exactly what Trump wants to do, because he's a fucking sadist, psychopath, absolute fucking psychopath. Sorry for swearing so much, but you know, he is. Right. There you go. We're going to jump into the chat now for a little bit. Agree, Graham, but when things could be so much better, but it's held back by political bollocks and greedy people. Absolutely. DEI crashes planes, apparently. The best thing Starmer could do is put critical thinking and scientific method on their curriculum, says Di. Yeah, I agree. We've also got, is it Day or Die? Or something else. Chris C says Kendall needs to either start being empathetic towards those with mental health issues or hand over the reins to someone who wants to support us and not punish us. I agree. I honestly, I mean, mental health is a huge issue in this country at the moment, and the fact that we're not doing more to support people who are suffering at the moment is just it's abhorrent. It's absolutely abhorrent. And it's not something where, you know, the thing is with mental health problems, it's not like cancer or dementia or something like that, where it's, you know, people can't do things for themselves, or they have really, really expensive procedures that need to take place in order to combat the cancer. It's not like that. It's like a lot of times people can be helped, not cured, but at least helped by talking, by literally having that conversation with an accredited therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. I don't really know the difference, but whatever. That shouldn't be like the most expensive thing in the world, but because we don't have that many, for example, educational psychologists going from school to school, you'll have one educational psychologist who's supposed to cover an entire LEA. I mean, it is really just mind-boggling that the dearth of support for people who are going through mental health problems when it's something that it's relatively cost effective. Let's not say cheap, because that's a bad way of putting it. It's relatively cost effective to have someone who can, spend a little bit of time with someone, help them through what they're going through, maybe do some cognitive behavioral therapy or whatever it is that works for that person. And don't forget, different things work for different people, right? If it worked for you, great. Bonza might not work for other people. Bear that in mind. But yeah, something like this is something that I really feel there should be a national push towards, like a huge national push. Get all these celebrities who have had mental health problems in the past, or maybe still suffer from mental health problems, get them, to back a campaign where we really focus on mental health as a way to not just help people, which is the primary motivation for me, but also to help the country. Because if you are suffering from mental health problems, there's a chance you aren't working, or if you are working, you're not working very productively. And you're not reaching your full potential because of the mental health problems. And this is something that needs to be addressed. It's something that if you're going to be talking about getting people back into work, you can't do it by threatening them with more stress. Oh, you're off work with stress? Okay, well, I'll give you more stress. Does that help? Does the more stress help? Because obviously it won't. It absolutely won't. Good morning, all. Psychiatrists are able to prescribe drugs, says Witchy Goths. Okay. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Thank you for telling me the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Oh, my mum's watching. I better stop swearing. Hi, Mum. So we'll head over to the papers for a moment. I know I prattled on there, but feel free to put stuff into the chat. I will try and catch up a little bit. We've got the Daily Tory graph here. Which is the inside story of the Anna versus Melania feud. Okay. How to get perfect t-shirt. What is, you do know the people who read the Telegraph are all 197 years old, but whatever. The king looking really creepy here behind Angela Rayner. Isn't that like a creepy, weird face? I'm pretty sure that's going to be that picture. They're going to have some funny caption and they're going to say it on Have I Got News For You this week. If Have I Got News For You is on. Farage deal is for the bird, says Badenoch. Tory leader dismisses election threat from reform, saying any pact would put off voters. Maybe. Paedophiles spurred deportation as it would harm his children. So another migrant story that the Daily Telegraph is absolutely obsessed with. And above the masthead here, it actually says Publisher of the Year. Publisher of the Year? Not Newspaper of the Year, there's only like 5 newspapers, so to be Newspaper of the Year, it just cycles around them, doesn't it? I hope my late husband will be waiting on the other side for our beloved Westie, who's fading fast. So Nanine Dorries has written a column about her dog, who's not going to be with us much longer, and will be reunited in heaven with her late husband. Now, people think that Nanine Dorries is like a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic, and they're right. Daily Mail here. Royal World exclusive. Andrew, the security risk financier and an £8 billion venture. After Chinese spy scandal, now Duke of York works with ex-ambassador to Russia on lucrative Middle East fund. Did you know that Prince Andrew is a wrong 'un? He is, he's the Edward VIII of our era. He is a complete gobshite, possibly a nonce, and almost certainly a fascist. He just wants to make money, like loads and loads of money. Just feather his nest, make loads of money, take loads of drugs, and just be a toff, which is what lots of toff people do. And there's a bargain hunt star put his wife in headlock during 10-year campaign of violence. This is auctioneer Chris Charles Hansen with his wife. He looks very posh, possibly private school mafia hire. And I'm sorry, but people who go to private school, some of them turn out all right. A lot of them don't. I could be jumping to conclusions. He might have gone the local comp. I don't know. Revenge of the Psycho Scumbag Chatbots. That's the Daily Start. Okay, whatever. We've got the Financial Times. Job losses will restrain price pressures, says Bank of England rate setter. Man urged bigger interest rate cut. Alert over in easing customer demand. That's consumer demand. Sorry, man. That's the name, man, not just a man. doing stuff. AI bubble. Macron splashes out as Paris hosts industry moguls in push for place at the top table. So there you go. There's an AI thing going on. Couple can hand back moth-infested £33 million mansion to seller. Court rules. Okay. You sold me a £33 million mansion. It was full of moths. Don't you hate it when that happens? The Times here with Generation Z are proud of Britain and wouldn't fight to save it. Well, what do you expect? You've made Britain shit, you daft twats. You know, Rupert Murdoch has spent the last 97 years pouring poison into the eyes and ears of the older generations of this country time and time again, turned them against the young, turned them against progress, and made them fight for made them stand up and fight for Brexit of all things, which is one of the reasons why young people feel trapped in this country. They can't travel around their own continent as freely as they used to. That we have been put under sort of like house arrest, a version of house arrest, which means that we can't spread our wings as widely as we used to be able to. So I'm no surprise that Generation X have like no love for this country, and I wouldn't fight for it, and I think that's absolutely fair enough. But Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch said, "This is what happens when we let divisive narratives run wild." No, this is what happens when you make people's lives shit, you stupid fucking dickhead. You rich, hoity-toity, privately educated mofo. Badenoch there going, well, the thing is, if they weren't taught about diversity, equality and inclusion, then, they would do so much better. Maybe people are getting angry at the fact that because of the lack of diversity, equality and inclusion, including people from lower economic brackets, and this is how they get you. This is how they get you, because they'll point at people like Badenoch and Cleverly and Rishi Sunak and say, oh, look at these people. These people are from different cultural backgrounds and they've got a top job. Isn't that amazing? It's all working great, and we didn't even need to use DEI hires in order to... Hang on, what? No. A lot of those people were brought in by Cameron because Cameron wanted to diversify the Tory party. What does the D stand for in DEI? Diversity? Is that what it stands? Okay. The other thing is they're all private school alumni, right? So if you're going to have a look at it on an economic scale, right, we need more people from not just working class backgrounds, but just backgrounds that aren't private school. So the 93% of us, we need more of our representation in everything in life, everything public in the public sphere. We need more representation, loads more representation than we get at the moment. But they say, oh, no. The problem isn't the fact that we're all portioned from private schools. The problem is that we're giving jobs to unqualified people who just get the jobs because of the colour of their skin. Is that how Matt Hancock got his job? Is that how he got his job? I don't think that's how he got his job, mate. I don't think it was because he was white. I think he got the job because he went to a fucking private school. And then he went on to become our health secretary during a pandemic, and tens of thousands of old people died as a direct result of the policies he enacted, because he's an incompetent piece of shit. But, I'm sure DI hires, that was the big problem. No, the big problem is PSM hires, private school mafia hires. That's the problem, and that's why young people are looking at the state of this country right now and going, I will never have a fun job, because it's absolutely dominated by the PSM, and I will never be able to afford a house, because the only way to afford a house is to have a fun job that pays really, really well. I've got a shit job that's boring and pays me fuck all. Never going to own a house in this country. Starmer set to sidestep EU tariffs with war with US. Trump angers Brussels by targeting steel imports. Britain is not expected to join the European Union in retaliating against the US after Donald Trump announced plans to hit steel to imports with 25% tariffs, which we're talking about today, which will be an absolute disaster. Second MP is suspended by Labour over abuse of tax. I think we covered that yesterday. There's another picture of Angela Rayner wearing really cool boots. I like her boots. With the King and Keir Starmer in the background, looking a bit weird. And Taylor versus Trump at the Oscars or something. I don't know. And then we've got the screen sirens of Albert Square. Okay, whatever. And the Keir saying we must save pubs. Yeah, go back in the EU. Go back in the EU. The reason why pubs are failing is because one guy decided that he wants to run all the pubs in Britain. A privately educated guy called Tim Martin, part of the private school mafia. Oh, fucking course he was. Along with every other fucker who told you to vote for Brexit. He went to private school and his daddy bought him a couple of pubs to get him started. He wants to own all the pubs. And he realised that if we pulled out the EU, it would make it almost impossible for anyone who wasn't him to own a pub in this country and actually turn a profit, because it would put prices of beer up to £7 a pint. From like £3 to £7. Hey, you know those London prices that we always whinge about? Let's just have them all over the country. Let's just spread them out liberally. So even if you go to the Jacaranda these days, it's like £6 for a fucking pint. A place that just a few years ago you could get a bottle of Stella for £1, but now it's £6 for a fucking pint. Yeah, because of Brexit. The direct result of Brexit. Prices of beer haven't gone up that much in other countries that didn't Brexit. UK fears steel industry faces a fatal blow. I mentioned this about the Port Talbot steelworks. That they fear for further devastating job losses for their community, thanks to Donald Trump. So just remind any Brit who thinks Trump is great, just remind them of that. Another picture of the King and Angela Rayner, and it's actually the same picture that was used on one of the other things. There's a UFO mystery. It's not a spaceship. Court sign off in assisted dying bill to be scrapped. So this was the idea that you had to go to the High Court, to get assisted dying. You know, to be euthanized, you have to go to the High Court. Why are we wasting the time at the High Court? I mean, they'll be inundated with cases. Can we just take to a doctor? Well, I don't know what the court's got to do with it. Like, if there is an objection from someone in the family, maybe, yes, it can go to court, but just a normal court, not the High Court, just a normal court, right? Other than that, it should be a decision for the person who wants this and their family and their GP, right? And then we've got the Daily Express. Stop the tax so I can be a farmer like my mummy and daddy. Bert joins mum Hazel and dad Tom at the demo. Yesterday, save our farms. A boy aged 5 appealed to Rachel Reeves to stop the tax so when he becomes a farmer when he grows up. There's only 500 farmers who are going to be affected by this change in the law, and it's specifically targeting the people who buy property, buy farmland just to own it so they can avoid paying inheritance tax because they're so filthy rich. It's a good way of doing it. Something that now suddenly hero of the farming class, Jeremy Clarkson, it's something that he actually admitted to in an article in the Daily, reported in the Times in 2021. He said, I bought all this land because it was a tax dodge. And then we've got the Trellick Tower here, brutalism at its ugliest, but we're flat to worth 1 million. I mean, fucking hell. I fucking hate brutalism. I'm sorry. I absolutely despise it. I saw it everywhere I went around the world. I think it is just the death of imagination, culture, and humanity. It's what robots would build. I'm sorry if you enjoy this and you like it and you're upset by me saying this, but I fucking hate it. And I especially hate it because, you know, there's like a style of art that you don't like. You're not forced to look at it every day. Do you know what I mean? Say you don't like Jackson Pollock. Don't go to a Jackson Pollock exhibition. Jackson Pollock expedition to the North Pole. No, just don't go to the art gallery, okay? Don't buy a book of Jackson Pollock paintings. Fine, you know, whatever. But you can't avoid this shit. It's like really fucking bad art that is the world forces you to look at, and it makes me feel like shit. It demonstrably negatively impacts my mental health having to see these fucking abomination buildings that people, like, you know, lay down in front of the bulldozers to sort of, you know, to rescue. because it's like, oh no, we don't want to, don't take away my eyesore. Don't take away my freaking eyesore. Anyway, right, moving on. Happy enough. Public school is United School. I had to learn Ebolics as a second language in 3rd grade, and it helped me be a better adult until Trump disturbed the peaceful foundation of DEI laid in 1969. Trump has decided to make DEI the public enemy number one because it's all a weapon of mass distraction. Everything Trump does pretty much is a weapon of mass distraction, but we have to take him seriously because when he says, Hamas have got to release all the hostages by Sunday, or I'm going to let Israel do whatever they want, there's nothing to stop Israel from literally dropping a nuclear bomb. Dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza. Do you realize how serious this situation is looking right now? Israel is a nuclear armed power. And if you think there's going to be no blowback from that, one way or another, from the Middle East, I've got a bridge to sell you. 75% of real farmers are tenants of tax-avoiding landowners. Yeah, David. Most families who own farms will not be affected by this change. And it's only 20%. The rest of us had to pay 40% on inheritance tax, but that's only after the first million. The first million that you can inherit absolutely tax-free. And then for farmers, it's more than that. I think it gets up to about 3.4 million that you can have completely tax-free. And then you pay 20% on anything on top of that. And it really is. If the farmers thought that they lost some friends after the Brexit debacle, they're not really winning anyone over, I don't feel, right now, apart from people who hated Labour anyway, I guess. Iran close to building the bomb now too, says one angry pagan. Yeah, and that would be as a result of Trump pulling out of the well-negotiated treaty with Iran, which stopped them from building nuclear bombs in response to bringing down the sanctions against Iran. But then Trump got in and said, no, we're going to put those sanctions right back where they were. And Iran went, okay, well, we'll keep building these nuclear bombs then. Anyway, right, a bit of fun, right? This morning before the show, I wrote into ChatGPT. I wrote, do you think it would be a good thing if Elon Musk bought ChatGPT? And this is what ChatGPT said. Okay, I'll read it out to you. Right, let's see what you think, right? No! It would almost certainly be a disaster if Elon Musk bought ChatGPT. Based on his track record, here's why. Number 1, free speech, hypocrisy, and censorship. Musk claims to be a free speech absolutist, in inverted commas, but has a history of banning and silencing critics, including journalists, whistleblowers, and researchers. If he took over ChatGPT, he could manipulate responses to favour his own agenda, suppress dissent, or promote conspiracy theories. 2, decline in trusts and ethics. ChatGPT is already under scrutiny for AI ethics and misinformation risks. Under Musk, ethical considerations will most likely take a backseat to personal biases and financial interests. Given his history of amplifying hate speech, there would be a real risk of ChatGPT being used to promote harmful ideologies or misinformation. Workforce chaos and layoffs at number 3. Musk has gutted Twitter, X, Tesla, and other companies through mass layoffs and toxic work environments. If he took over OpenAI, he would most likely fire critical AI researchers and ethics teams, leading to a brain drain that would hurt the AI's development. Number 4, a broken paywalled experience. Under Musk, ChatGPT might become a pay-to-play tool with basic features locked behind expensive subscriptions. He did this with Twitter Blue, now X Premium, leading to a drop in quality and credibility of verified accounts. Misinformation and extremism risks at number 5. Musk has undermined content moderation at X, leading to an explosion of misinformation, hate speech, and conspiracy theories. If he controlled ChatGPT, he could push propaganda, suppress facts, or allow AI-generated disinformation to spread unchecked. Number 6, anti-union and exploitative working practice. This is quite comprehensive. Thank you, ChatGPT, for telling us why Elon Musk should not be allowed to buy ChatGPT. Anyway, anti-union and exploitative working practices. OpenAI employees would likely face worse conditions, similar to Tesla and X, where workers report burnout, harassment, and suppression of unions, not just Tesla and X, but also SpaceX as well. And that's why many of those rockets keep blowing up, because of the work culture at SpaceX is fucking awful. Prior failures in AI and chatbots. This is number 7. Musk launched XAI, which so far produced Grok, which is what he called his chatbot. Grok, a chatbot integrated into X that has been mocked for being low quality and biased. Instead of improving AI technology, he would likely use ChatGPT as a political tool or integrate it poorly with his other failing ventures. Oh, stick the knife in ChatGPT. Wow. Number 8, further damage to OpenAI's reputation. OpenAI has already faced ethical concerns, but Musk would make things far worse, likely accelerating the commercialization and weaponization of AI for its own benefit. Good call. Spelled weaponization wrong, though. It's got an S in it, not a Z. Whatevs. Anyway, conclusion. This is from ChatGPT. I just wrote, will it be a good idea if Elon Musk buys ChatGPT? Conclusion. This is the conclusion, right? A catastrophe in the making. That's the conclusion that ChatGPT gives you if you type in, what will it be like if Musk buys ChatGPT? A catastrophe in the making. If Musk bought ChatGPT, it would. And it's giving me like a big red X, okay? Reduce trust in AI. Enable bias and misinformation. Exploit workers and researchers. Turn AI into a paywalled, low-quality mess. Push extremism and propaganda. And then its final paragraph is this. If OpenAI values its credibility, it must never allow Musk anywhere near its leadership. Given his track record, his influence would almost certainly ruin the platform and make it another tool for misinformation, ego-driven chaos, and corporate greed. Would you like me to draft a statement you could send to OpenAI about this? I don't think you have to, man. You've just done it. Perfect. You know, I often mock AI as a helpful little robot that gets everything wrong, but on the money. Absolutely on the money. Yeah, so there you go. That's literally what just... the fun we have. ChatGPT is woke. And people are saying Musk would totally fuck up ChatGPT. He absolutely would. He completely would. But there you go. And Isaac is just laughing. Chris C says the UK taxpayer is paying the Prince of Williams. Sorry, I just put Wales and Millions together and made Williams. Sorry, it's been a long morning. The UK taxpayer is paying the Prince of Wales millions a year for Dartmoor prison, which we aren't even using. The NHS is paying him $7 million a year for the privilege to park ambulances on his land. Yeah, I know. It's fucking mad, isn't it? Like when this is. I've got to sign off soon. We've only got a few minutes left, but like. When people talk, like the Yanks, when Elon Musk is talking about efficiency, like, where's the efficiency in the huge subsidies that we give to already rich people, like, and already rich companies? Where's the benefit to us in the fact that we allow, for instance, Walmart in the States, right? They don't pay their workers a living wage. So in order to keep the workers who work at Walmart alive, they need a subsidy from the state. So taxpayers are paying into the kitty for the public purse. They're paying into the public purse. And some of that money, several billions of that money, is billions even, is being given to the workers of Walmart so that Walmart doesn't have to pay its employees more money for doing that job, a living wage for doing that job, because if they do pay their employees a living wage for doing that job, they wouldn't make so much profit for their shareholders and the Walton family. That seems like a waste to me. That seems like government waste. Why are you propping up a private company to give less money to its workers than they deserve? And this is the thing, like a lot of people in this country and in America and other countries that have social networks set up, social networks, social security set up, right? Some kind of safety net. So much money goes to people who are working but aren't being paid enough. Like, how freaking ridiculous is that? And that's the Tory way. You know, when we brought in the minimum wage at the turn of the millennium, the Tories were like, "Oh my God, all these businesses are going to go out of business because they're going to have to pay people what they deserve for for working." And I'm like, actually, they can't afford to pay people who work there. Then I don't think they should be. I don't think they're viable as a business. But that's not the case. 99 times out of 100, especially with these big businesses, they just want more money for themselves. They just want a bigger fucking yacht. They just want a bigger mansion. They just want like a bigger car with a bigger engine, gold plating or something. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about people working for them. They're just like, oh, whatever. Well, that's why unions are so important. Anyway, hopefully the unions, we haven't talked about much about the unions, but loads of people have been joining unions in the United States of America, and with good reason. Because I think that in the next few years, if anyone's going to do anything about Trump and actually stop him from the more madder things he wants to do, or any of the things he wants to do, because they're all fucking mad, it's got to be the people, it's got to be the unions, because the Democrats have just so badly let everybody down. They just seem to be directionless, listless. You've got a couple of good ones. You've got AOC. You've got Bernie Sanders, who's an independent technically. And that's about it. That's about it. It's quite a shit situation to be in. But I really think that if enough people cause disruption, and I'm not talking about necessarily going out on a protest every fucking day, although once a year might be nice. But just quietly quitting, just making life difficult, being an obstruction to Trump's agenda in any way that you can be an obstruction to Trump's agenda. If a million people act as an obstruction to Trump's agenda, it won't go ahead. It just simply will not go ahead. Be late, be bad at your job. Just don't turn up. Just turn up. Just waste people's time. Waste people's time. Waste people's time. We've got 4 years of this. We've got 4 years worth of time to waste at least. Anyway, until the really big fight when it comes to getting Trump out of office. And I think when things haven't already kicked off by then, that is going to be the point where it really, really, really kicks off. Okay, so I'm going to get going now. Thank you very much for watching. We've got Chris C saying it's about time the Labour government told greedy corporations that the gravy train has left the station, that they need to pay employees a decent and fair wage, which goes up each year. Yeah, absolutely, couldn't agree more. Leonora says, since Morrison's taken over by American company, I've noticed less staff. David Peacock, there's many the NHS staff are employed by contractors for services that have been privatized. Insane. Absolutely insane. MZ, looks like I missed a good one. Must reply later. Pop it in, smashing that like. Please smash the like. Thanks very much, and hope you enjoy the show when you watch it in the future. Thank you very much, future M. And Sarah Davis says, bye everyone, bye Graham. Diz says, it's not just contractors. No, it's not. But I mean, it really doesn't help. When we talk about waste, and then when anyone says anything about giving people like carers who look after a family member, giving them an extra, £5 a week, and we've got to get that back. We've got to get that back. More people don't take benefits that they deserve than take the piss when it comes to benefits, because you can't get that much money out of benefits at the end of the day. I mean, even if you've got like 17 children, you can't get that much money out of benefits, whereas you can get a lot more money out of subsidies if you're a big rich company and you're like, oh yeah, £1 million here, £1 million there, yeah. No, I'll make a phone call. Get Michelle Maron on the phone. Michelle Maron on the phone. Hello, yes, we need some PPE that doesn't work. Yes, yeah. Don't worry about it. The £250 million in the bank already. Go buy yourself a yacht, you fucking arsehole. Yeah. Gillian says AI defending itself. Well, AI seems to know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know if this is just my particular AI generator thing, because I've got an account with ChatGPT and maybe it just tells me what I want to hear. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you try it. See, do you think it'll be a good idea? Maybe it'll give you the pros and cons. It didn't give me any pros. It just gave me the cons. It's just like, yeah, it's going to be a bad idea. Alaterm says, chat, you all stay safe, stay well. Warm. Hope to see some of you later today on. So Geoscope will be coming on later tonight. We normally do it at 7:30, and that's so we don't clash with Maximilian because he's got a show that goes from 8:30 to 9:30. But I might shift it tonight. I might go after Max's show. I might move it to 9:30. So look out. I will put a thing out. A thumbnail and the title, a countdown thing, telling you what time it's going to be. But just look out for it. If you already subscribed to the channel, great. If you're not, please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon, and that will let you know when a new video is going to go live soon. And also, if you'd like to become a member of the channel, just press the join button. This is quite cool. You can get a little rose. See, some of the names have got little roses next to them. You get a little rose by your name, which is really cool. So if you want to join as a member, it really, really helps the channel and allows us to make more videos for you, more content for you. And content is king, obviously. Anyway, so thanks very much for watching. Thanks for the chats. Thanks for the super chats. And until next time, I'll say give us a like on the way out. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.